40s who came in to see me with a complaint of left heel pain that's progressively been getting worse when he first gets up in the morning, and even if he does a couple miles at a time of running, 3 miles or so, and he just tried to do a long run of 9 miles and said it was really bad. So pointed directly to the bottom of his heel. If I had to guess, and if an x-ray confirmed, I'd say it was a heel spur. However, if he wanted to go get it done, he could. However, it's not going to change. We're not going to change the results of a spur on his heel. What we are going to need to find out is why is he having that pain and where is it coming from? So we've got him set up here at the 2D cameras, and just wanted to give a brief history. He's really not had any other pathology. He's done completed several Ironman triathlons, and is going to be doing a lot of mileage coming up, training for a 2-person Ragnar relay. So we need to get him squared away as soon as possible. It's a setup where there's no way we can see what's going on with him right now. The footage is too fast, so we're going to slow it down and take a look and see what we can find. Okay, we're going to take a look here at some objective data given to us by the mile pressure bilateral gait report from Neuraxon's instrumented treadmill. It is worth mentioning here, though, how important it is to do the full clinical exam. I'll mention some things about this gentleman's mobility, things that I found both in non-weight-bearing positions and weight-bearing. It's so important to do both, check those dynamic movements, and just see how he moves. We're going to get to the report here. This is what I call a runner's report card, essentially. All the information's right there. We don't have to guess about anything. And so what this is the average amount of pressure in the time that he ran. It basically takes a look at that for us. So quickly going down here, this center of pressure diagram, what this means is over here on the left in red, that's every time his foot hit the ground and the time that I measured him. Over here on the right, it's every time his right foot hit the ground. In the middle here, we've got what we call a butterfly diagram. This is really going to be important, especially several weeks from now when he comes back and we take a look at him to see how he's progressing. This one here, I don't know if you caught that in the first video, but you can see that he stumbled a little bit on the treadmill. The belt kind of stuck a little bit, and he was able to catch himself. But something interesting that matches here on this right side matches over here, and that we'll take a look at in another video. As far as some rotational issues he's got going on, but we can suspect it here. But when we come down to look at this data right here, one of my favorite pieces of objective information is looking at the foot rotation. What that means is, if in a perfect world his left and right foot were straight up and down, it'd be completely neutral. But look at this difference between the rotation that he has on his right side and on his left side. This is all great objective information. We've also, as far as objective, we've got his cadence right there. He's at 171. A little slow, and he's played around with that before himself, he told me, and he knows he needs to bump that up. I'm going to go back through and do some math, and I can find out a little bit more about his loading rate, how hard he's hitting the ground, and that's really important because his body is not able to absorb the ground reaction force that's coming back up into his body and offsetting the effects of gravity, weight-bearing, mass and momentum. So this is the nerd in me that's going to figure this stuff out. But something else that's interesting too, if I really wanted to geek out and take a look at all the different areas he's placing pressure in his foot. So something else to note is that he has been using stability shoes. Two things about that I found in his objective, or I'd say in his clinical exam, is significant limitations in hip mobility throughout, which is not surprising, in all 3 planes of motion, which have to be checked in all 3 planes of motion. Capsular tightness, both in the hips and the ankles, right ankle more than the left, and he, as I said, has been in stability shoes, really is unable to pronate, especially on that right side. It's so tight, and so of course it makes sense that he's not able to absorb shock very well at all. So we're going to go on to the next section for an assessment and see what we can come up with. Okay, now we're taking a look at one more view to show you here. just looking at from behind, and also being able to look at the pressure plate that's inside this instrumented treadmill. So I really like to look at this for many reasons, but for this specific individual, one of the things that I can see on there is, and I can stop this at any point and see where we already saw it in his report, but this just lets me eyeball and see what his rotation is from one side to the other. Now, while it stopped here, I am taking note of the fact that he has been having left heel pain, and is there any crossover? Is his left foot crossing over the midline, and how much does that happen? So let's take a look and see on the right. We're going to notice that there's that rotation, and you can see a little bit of the torque when he comes off of there. So again, his foot ends up being more in an externally rotated position, and then there's some torque in the foot when it comes off. Again, the left leg is migrating toward the center. They both are, which makes sense because he was tight in both of his hips. The other thing is watch the impact, and this is hard to see, but you can see that when he lands on his left leg, there's really not any place for him to go. So again, watch and see, as the camera jams up there, but you can see how he's got a little bit more give on his right, but on his left side, it just stops. And so again, the muscles and tissues in the body need to be able to load to explode and giving us power and all of that stuff. So because this flexibility is so limited, everything is standing jammed together, which is basically why it's pushing down the bottom of his heel. So one of the things I need to mention that I didn't include in this video that we did do during his time in the lab, we did do some wireless EMG, because anytime when you have that much flexibility restriction, you're going to have some, what we call, referred to as gluteal amnesia, which is basically inability to neurologically fire the glute muscles because they have not been used. This gentleman has a job that involves a lot of sitting as well. So those muscles back there have basically been shut off. So again, part of his plan was we went through that and gave him some specific strengthening exercises for him to start to get his glutes going. And now, this was after we went through very specific capsule or stretching program for both his hips and his ankles. He has videos now of him doing that, and we went through it together. He also, we went through together some aggressive, specific jumpstart running flexibility exercises that he needs to do in all three planes of motion to work on aggressively gain mobility in his hips. So he also is going to be working on visualizing more hip extension while he's running and making sure his feet aren't overextending in front of him too far. So the great thing is he doesn't have to rest, he doesn't have to stop, anything like that. It's all up to him now, and runners are probably the most compliant people out there, and tell them that they don't have to stop running, but they do have to do the flexibility program. But based on the areas where he felt there's restrictions, and we were able to help him. I actually saw him the next day, and he said he was really sore, but in a great way. So he's moving onward and upward, so I'll have an update in a couple weeks. But again, why somebody coming in with a complaint of left heel pain, first thing that I'm going to check is up in the hips, and sure enough, that's where the problem was, and his heel was just basically screaming at him, asking for help. So thank you to our friend for letting us use him as the clinical example, and he's already off and literally running back out there again. So more for next time. Thanks again.